Welcome to 7DSystem, this is DMG, and we are further exploring the mechanics of 7DSystem with character creation. Thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon. You help to make these videos possible. If you would like to know more, check out patreon.com/7dsystem. So this video is about character creation. So integral to any role-playing game is actually developing the character that you're going to play. Of course, with 7DSystem, it's slightly different in that you're actually generating character while playing, so there's not a huge amount of front load to character creation. The character is generally built during actual gameplay. So of course, the most important requirement is the profile sheet. So this is available on 7dsystem.com. You can download the latest version of this. This is version 0.93. When the game is released, it will be version 1. So expect this to change. So the first thing you're going to need to do is to pick a species. So in a fantasy game, there'll obviously be a wide range of species. Your normal fantasy creatures, dwarves, halflings, kobolds, orcs, humans, you name it, you can pick from these depending on the setting that you're playing. Of course, in other settings like modern or western, you may only have one species, which would be human, and in sci-fi, again, you could have multiple species. So it really depends on what setting you're playing as to which species type you'll be selecting. The species helps to determine the size of the character, their maximum carry value, their ability bonuses, and their weapon proficiency bonuses as well. So these are set by the type of species that you select. So you don't get to choose these. This is basically dictated to you. This is the species you've selected, and these are the bonuses you get. This is the size of your species, and this is the maximum carry value, etc. So for each of these, I will go into detail on size in another video because it's an integral part of this game. But we will talk more about that in future videos. So species also gives you additional features for the character. So this is things like languages, special abilities, immunities, and favored enemies. So this is the sort of usual fare that you would normally find in other role-playing games, and of course is dependent on the setting that you're using. Then you can have more of a choice, and that comes down to the character archetypes, which we spoke about in a previous video. So there's one of 12 character archetypes that you choose from, and this determines drive, goal, fear, strategy, weakness, and talent of the character. So there are 12 different archetypes to choose from. Again, this is a classless game, so there are no classes like fighter or wizard or things like that. You basically become those when you play the game. So you don't start out that, you start out as an ordinary person, and that's what leads me to occupations. So occupations essentially give you skill bonuses, equipment, and additional weapon proficiencies in some bonuses in some cases, and an economic level. So we will go into things like economic level again in future videos, but this is what the occupation will give you. So let's say, for instance, you choose to be a chimney sweep. So a chimney sweep would give you +1 to all climbing checks. So whenever you perform anything that's to do with climbing, you get a bonus dice to your dice pool. So that's the kind of skill bonuses you would get for your occupation. So when you're starting out, the game generally is best played from absolute 0 characters. Now, an absolute 0 character means once you've filled out all the species information, the bonuses, the languages and abilities and all that kind of stuff, you have no ranks in anything. So there are 0 ranks in weapons, 0 ranks in abilities and skills, fortes, there's nothing. So that's an absolute 0 character. So as you play and progress in the game, you then to build ranks in the specific skills and abilities as the game progresses. So that's where there's a slight difference. Now, if you wanted to, you could start with ranks. Now, this is completely unnecessary, but obviously, people are out there who want to start with slightly better characters, more advanced characters, etc. So that is possible with this. It's not necessary to start the game. Essentially, you can start with a blank character sheet and progress from there. If you do want to start with ranks, generally we suggest starting from between 5 and 30 ranks that are then distributed through the different abilities, the fortes, expertise, specialties, etc., using the normal requirements for those. So you can't just, put 2 in one ability, then go in a completely different forte. They have to match up, and you have to fulfill the requirements for the forte in order to go into that, and fulfill the requirements for the expertise in order to continue onto an expertise, etc., etc., as we pointed out in the previous video. So generally we suggest, if you want to add more ranks to that, add in blocks of 5, so 35, 40, 45, 50, etc. But really 30 is the maximum you'd really want to start with, so it gives you more scope to continue the game and progress the characters within the structure of the actual game itself. An alternative method to generate a character is for each ability, roll a 1d8 and subtract 2 from the result. So that's going to give you a result from -1 to 6. So if an ability has a -1, that means it's unusable. So if you had an ability score, a physical score of -1, you have absolutely no physical ability whatsoever. It's almost like you're being pushed around in a wheelchair. If you had no mental ability, then you wouldn't be able to do any mental functions. If you had no constitution ability, it will become very difficult to actually heal. It would have to be all magical healing and things like that. So that can be quite disastrous. But, it depends on how you want to play the game. So if you roll, if the result is a 0, convert that to a 1, and then, 1 through 6 as normal, and you can then add those ranks into abilities, fortes, expertise, and speciality. Now, if you want, obviously you can negate the -1 rule. It depends on how interesting you want the game to be. So again, you can roll the d8, a -1 will become 0, so there would be no ranks in that, and a 0 would no longer convert to a 1. You can just remain that as a 0. So you'd have 2 zeros effectively. So those are the alternatives for character creation. I hope you liked this video. You can click the like button. If you'd like to check me out on Facebook and Twitter, check out those /7DSystem. And in future video, we are going to be talking about story value and story value tokens. So I'll see you in that one.